Okay, it's 6:30. I'd like to call the Administrative Services Committee meeting for September 4th, 2018. Please call the roll.
Councilor Corradino.
Here.
Councilor DeMasi.
Here.
Councilor Hill.
Here.
Councilor Tesserero.
Here.
Councilor Wilmot.
Here. I'd like a motion to approve the minutes of the August 20th, 2018 committee meeting. Councilor Hill, Councilor DeMasi.
Councilor Corradino.
Yes.
Councilor DeMasi.
Yes.
Councilor Hill.
Yes.
Councilor Tesserero.
Yes.
Councilor Wilmot.
Yes. First item on the agenda is Carolyn Anderson, Animal Control Officer, requests permission to accept donation for the Oswego Animal Shelter in the amount of $1,373. This donation was made by Carolyn Robertson and was collected at the Pegasus Benefit Concert to be donated to the shelter for the animals. Carrie?
Yes, we were approached by Ms. Robertson. They had a concert, I believe. Can you hear me? Okay. They had a concert, I believe, at the Ferris wheel, and they decided to donate the proceeds of the concert to us. And she came in and presented us with a check.
Very good. Any comments or concerns on this one? Seeing none, can I have a motion? Councilor Tesoriero, Councilor Wilmot.
Councilor Corradino.
Yes.
Councilor DeMasi.
Yes.
Councilor Hill.
Yes.
Councilor Tesserero.
Yes.
Councilor Wilmot.
Yes. Item number 2, Carolyn Anderson, Animal Control Officer, requests permission for the City Chamberlain to transfer from account A.3510.0200 equipment to A.3510.0102 personal services overtime in the amount of $15,000 to cover the cost of overtime for the animal control staff for the remainder of the calendar year. Carolyn?
Yes, we created a couple of new positions. I believe it's now in its second year, and we're still kind of figuring out the exact amount of overtime that the staff are going to use every year. So I just have to do a transfer from one account to another to cover the cost of it. It's been a busy summer, but it's pretty much normal for us to be this busy around this time of year.
So this has nothing to do with, I know in my ward especially, there's been a lot of skunk activity.
We have had a lot of skunk activity. Some of the trapping has been taken care of by Sean O'Gorman, but actually it's about normal. We're having more complaints about foxes, and I'm getting more raccoon complaints and stuff this year than skunks, believe it or not. It's just bad every year, so.
Okay.
But all of it is we're very busy.
Any questions for Caroline? Seeing none, can I have a motion? Councilor Hill, Councilor DeMasi.
Councilor Corradino.
Yes.
Councilor DeMasi.
Yes.
Councilor Hill.
Yes.
Councilor Tesserero.
Yes.
Councilor Wilmot.
Yes. We have several items that are add-ons, I believe, for this committee. Commissioner Tom Kells is requesting use of funds from the Ice Rink Capital Reserve account not to exceed $75,000. These funds are needed for repairs to the HVAC, electrical, and other general maintenance at the city skating rinks. Mr. Kells is not here. He was here earlier, and he did talk to each of the councilors, asking if we had any questions. This basically has been done in the past, where the ice skating rink has a dedicated account for repairs, such as what we're talking about today. So all the monies that is collected from the various entities that use the ice skating rink, it goes into this dedicated fund. And we're just looking, well, he's just looking to use it for these particular repairs. So I think it's a normal request. Any questions from the councilors on this? No. Anybody in the public? Yes?
Just curious, how much money is in that reserve account?
That's a very good question. I think our city chamberlain might have an answer. Sounds like we have enough. Any other comments? Seeing none, can I have a motion? Councilor DeMasi, Councilor Tesoriero.
Councilor Corradino.
Yes.
Councilor DeMasi.
Yes.
Councilor Hill.
Yes.
Councilor Tesserero.
Yes.
Councilor Wilmot.
Yes. One more item added to this committee. City of Oswego previously authorized the issuance of a request for proposal for engineering and land surveying services on May 25, 2018 for repairs to various assets of the City of Oswego damaged by the severe flooding. A proposal and agreement was submitted by Delta Engineers as well as a company called Edgewater. Delta Engineers was the low bidder in this consulting work. Delta came in at $988,000, and Edgewater came in at $1,246,000. I know that each of us had gotten some information before the meeting, as this was an add-on. Are there any questions that you have about this project for this FEMA-related work because of the flooding in 2017? The chief is here to speak to it.
Sure. So as you know, we received a disaster declaration from the federal government related to the flooding that occurred, both to the area around Brightbeck, Wright's Landing, the International Pier, the West Linear Park area, and out on Shore Road. As part of that, Delta Engineering was hired at that time to do a preliminary disaster assessment that would help us win disaster declaration. We have to prove a certain amount of public infrastructure damage, both here locally, also the state, across the state has reached a certain threshold in order to trigger a possible disaster declaration at the federal level. That occurred. So in Oswego County, we have to have about 400,000. New York State has about $21 million worth of public infrastructure damage in order to trigger the federal government to even look at the possibility of a disaster declaration. We had several $million here in the city of Oswego alone, so we actually carried a large part of the state's burden and all of the county's burden as far as public infrastructure damage. So the city hired Delta Engineering to do that that preliminary disaster assessment at that time. Since then, we've used them a number of times to basically convey to FEMA the amount of damage that was done and what would it take to bring that back to pre-disaster condition, which that's what FEMA is looking to do. So not only are they the lowest bid of the two bids, but also because they did the most work on the project and are inherently aware of the damage and the infrastructure here in Oswego, that's why we would like to continue to use them.
Now, do you have any questions for the chief on this? Yes, Councilor Tesorio.
Chief, after reading the proposal, I felt there were some vague items. You know, they addressed what they could, but there's still a lot of open things that we don't know.
Yes. Right, and this is for, so you saw two actual proposals. The first one was in in June, and then one now in August. And what we've been doing is working with FEMA. Personally, I felt that a lot of those things were addressed in the preliminary disaster assessment. FEMA didn't concur with me. So we had this one back from June, but before we acted on that, we wanted to make sure that really the customer in this case is more FEMA. What do you need for proof as far as, you know, this really isn't for me. You know, I know what the damage exists. I have a good sense of what the pre-storm condition was. This engineering study is really more to meet the needs of FEMA than it is for us.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else have any questions for the chief or any comments? I see our city attorney is anxious to talk.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to piggyback off of the chief, I, at the direction of the mayor, prepared a resolution for your consideration, which I placed in everyone's mailbox. There are two important modifications to consider. First, I was under the mistaken belief that the local share was 10%. It's actually 25%. So it's a FEMA/New York State Homeland Security Emergency Services is 75%. The local share of any cost is 25%. And those are, I believe, reimbursable
Yes.
monies. So the resolution, which I will obviously correct, but before you consider this, should read 25%, not 10%. That's in the third whereas provision. And then in discussing this with the Chamberlain, she recommends that, or not recommends, directs that there will need to be a budget modification or budget amendment. So just add to the last resolve clause after the words appropriate account and execute a budget amendment as determined by the city chamberlain. Those would be the two critical modifications to the resolution that I can offer.
And then for Councilor DeMassey, we're, most of the initial work, hopefully this fall, is going to be in your district.
Right.
The folks on Shore Road, the boat launch area, and also the pump replacement. Those things have already been turned in, and we're waiting for execution from FEMA. So we should actually start seeing money begin to roll in from the 2017 storm. So,
It's bad.
yeah. So, and then that's the folks who, you know, that's public infrastructure, but it hits residential areas the most. Obviously, you don't have that along West Linear Park or Brightbeck or and Wright's Landing, but on Shore Road, that's where you see the closest infraction.
So if I read this correctly, the ballpark estimate for this project is $10 million. Ballpark. I mean,
Right.
we're not,
When we start pulling apart the International Pier, I think, you know, to look at the damage that was done underneath that, I can't really tell you what the estimate's going to be.
could be more, could be less.
Right.
But my point is, it's 25% city share, so we're talking about 2.5 million.
Yes,
Potentially, yeah.
potentially.
It's a big number.
Yes. Now, what we have been able to do, Justin Rudrick, we talked about this initially when we first put in the preliminary disaster assessment, was using FEMA mitigation money towards our 25%. Because we're getting FEMA mitigation money. The idea with mitigation money is to try to avert similar type damage from occurring in the future. The fact that we're putting an effort in to try to make not only back to pre-existing condition before the storm, but actually make it more resilient to future storms, there is a way to use some of that mitigation money to help offset our 25%.
But the city still has to come up with some money.
Yeah. Yes.
I'd be interested to hear the city chamberlain, where would this $2+ million come from? Okay.
What'd you say? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
From the fund balance.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions for the chief or the city attorney?
Well, what is the timeline we'd be paying on this? Like, how does that work as far as the work gets done to how much would the city have to be putting out, say, this year, next year? How does that work?
So the actual work itself by the contractors, we would be responsible to pay. We would get reimbursed. The engineering costs, things like that, what we can do is put in provisions to try to get that paid directly, so that FEMA would set aside money and pay them directly for that, so we wouldn't have to offset that money.
Okay.
So it's similar to like the CHIPS highway
Same
fund.
thing.
We do the work, pay for the work, and then we get reimbursed. Is that pretty much it?
Right.
Anybody else?
The one last thing I guess I would point out for everyone's benefit, keep in mind that we're talking right now, the allocation is for the initial work that was part of the RFP that Delta was successful in. That was $988,000 plus the $28,000 as a result of the meeting with FEMA. So even with that, which bumps it up to what, $1,004,000, that's still $242,000 less than the next bid. Let's look at it in that perspective, of which the city's responsible for at least 25%.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any questions, concerns? Going once, going twice? Can I have a motion? Councilor DeMassey, Councilor Tesorario.
Councilor Corradino.
Yes.
Councilor DeMassey.
Yes.
Councilor Hill.
Yes.
Councilor Tesorero.
Yes.
Councilor Wilmot.
Yes.
I believe that's all I have for this committee. I don't see any other add-ons on my desk. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Councilor Hill, Councilor DeMassey.
Councilor Corradino.
Yes.
Councilor DeMassey.
Yes.
Councilor Hill.
Yes.
Councilor Tesorero.
Yes.
Councilor Wilmot.
Yes.
At this time, I'll call the Physical Services Committee meeting for September 4th, 2018 to order. Please call the roll.
Councilor Hill.
Here.
Councilor Wilmot.
Here.
Councilor DeMassey.
Here.
Councilor Gozick.
Here.
Could I please have a motion to approve the minutes of the August 20th, 2018 committee meeting? Councilor Gozick, Councilor DeMassey.
Councilor Hill.
Yes.
Councilor Wilmot.
Yes.
Councilor DeMassey.
Yes.
Councilor Gozick.
Yes.
Is there any old business to come before this committee? Seeing none, we'll move on to new business. Under Communications, item number 1, the Engineering Department received a request from Michael Arena, contract purchaser of commercial property located at 63 West 2nd Street in the First Ward, 18 foot 8 inches by 69 foot 10 inches, for 8-car parking on existing paved area between the curb and sidewalk fronting West Seneca Street. This is an existing parking lot. Since he is the new purchaser of the building, he is just coming forward to request use of public space again. So it's already there, already existing. It's more of a technicality or formality. And
Exactly.
Councilor McCready?
Yeah.
Are there any questions or concerns on this request? Okay, could I have a motion, please? Councilor DeMassey, Councilor Wilmot.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot.
Yes.
Counselor DeMassey.
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
Item number 2, Mayor William J. Barlow Jr. has received a request from Sarah Carmichael, Service to Aid Families Advocate with Oswego County Opportunities, for use of a portion of Brightbeck Park during the month of October in order to place a display in recognition of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Is there anyone here to speak to this event? Thank you.
Hi. So for the past few years, we've been working with the City of Oswego to do awareness raising for October for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. In previous years, we did our display out on East First Street, kind of near where the old Tim Hortons used to be. Last year, we had it right in front of City Hall, and this year we are requesting to use some space in Brightbeck Park in order to put that display. I was informed today that there are no other events going on there. We are looking to use the area that is closer towards the parking lot, further away from the pavilion and the park, so we're not disrupting people in that area.
And this will be the flag display?
Yes. Yep. The display consists of about 550 purple flags that go in the ground. We have 3 life-size red figures, which are part of a National Silent Witness Project, which symbolizes victims and survivors. And we're requesting it for the entire month of October. We do take it down before Halloween festivities start.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the council? Councilor Cordino.
Through the chair, I was just wondering, will somebody be going there daily, every morning to check things out, make sure everything is still there and somebody didn't walk off with a few things?
Yes. Luckily, the past few years, we have not had any issues with any vandalism or people taking anything down. Usually, our biggest concern sometimes is the wind knocking it down. We have enough staff that live in the area and frequent Brightbeck Park to go jogging, so we will have someone there just about every day to make sure it is still there, and if something needs to be picked up or fixed, we take care of that.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or concerns? Can I please get a motion? Councilor Gozick, Councilor Wilmot.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot.
Yes.
Counselor DeMassey.
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
And we need a resolution?
That will come from the mayor's office. Item number 3, Thomas Kells, DPW Commissioner, received a request from Betty Steele to place a memorial bench in Brightbeck Park in memory of her parents, Jack and Catherine McGrath. The next 3 requests are all bench requests for Brightbeck Park, and what I've been doing is when I receive these requests, I've been reaching out to the requester and making sure that they are okay with working directly with the DPW for appropriate placement. We all know that there is an abundance of benches in certain areas of Brightbeck that have the best view for the sunsets, and at times it looks a little bit congested. But now we do have some more open areas and appropriate locations for benches, so everyone has been very good about working directly with the DPW for the best locations that are available. I haven't had anyone yet really put their foot down and fight on this, so until we get to a point where there are no more appropriate locations, I believe it's appropriate to approve these requests, and I would ask for the support to do so. Just to put it in perspective, and I was speaking with Councilor Cordino on the way up, if you were requesting this and the city told you no, just imagine the response, and my expectation would be that they would take it to a different level and kind of fight for that bench. So I think until we get to the point where there's no more appropriate locations, these are still okay. So are there any questions on this request, item number 3? Okay, could I take a motion, please? Councilor DeMassey, Councilor Wilmot.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot.
Yes.
Counselor DeMassey.
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
Item number 4, Thomas Kells, DPW Commissioner, received a request from Shelley Phantom to place a memorial bench in Brightbeck Park in memory of her brother Chet Phantom. Any questions or concerns with this request? Could I take a motion, please? Counselor Gozick, Counselor DeMassey.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot.
Yes.
Counselor DeMassey.
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
And item number 5, Thomas Kells, DPW Commissioner, received a request from Dick Kefalone on behalf of the OHS class of 1963 to place a memorial bench in Brightbeck Park in memory of the deceased members of the class of 1963. Any questions or concerns on this request? Okay, could I take a motion, please? Counselor DeMassey, Counselor Gozick.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot.
Yes.
Counselor DeMassey.
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
Is there any other business to come before this committee? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Counselor DeMassey and Counselor Gozick.
Counselor Hill.
Yes.
Counselor Wilmot.
Yes.
Counselor DeMassey.
Yes.
Counselor Gozick.
Yes.
I'm exhausted.